Uh, all right. Uh, I read the book of Jeremiah. I gave it another look at. I mean, I read it before. I understood a lot of things out of it, but it's just crazy, man. How many layers there is. Because now how certain things that formerly that didn't jump out at me and I'd had no understanding of, now they do jump out and I have an understanding of them. It's like basically Jeremiah was gang stalked, and it's like it's documented in the book. Like basically to be a prophet in a way, like he had to be. Not only was he a prophet, like that's for a spiritual, like a spiritual person with the position to guide the people and what they should do to that aligns up with the will of God. Uh, but in order for him to do that at the time, he became a political dissonant as well. And like, look, and also they would send people to put Jesus through like intense scrutiny and like basically interrogation, ambush interrogations. And that's documented too. That's what street theater is called. And there's shows on TV where people come up with fake badges and get people to kidnap kids, and then because they think they're doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And there's another thing, they gang stalk you out in the freaking anytime you go to a store. I mean, it's child's play these days because they got the whole biometric computer system, the nice program. It's you know what I'm saying? I forgot what it's called, but it's called Nice, and it's like a biometric scanner, Terminatrix, Skynet type of a program. But anyway, back to this Jeremiah thing, because there's a part where the leaders are going saying to Jeremiah, they're putting him in chains, they're putting him in stocks, like everywhere he had to go. He kind of got like kicked around, left out, standing in the middle of the town. I mean, in order for him to tell the truth, he actually got punished. Like they tried to see when they're afraid that you're really a prophet, they're afraid to really kill you too. Because look, so instead they just make your life fucking miserable. And if you're not from God, you will go back on what you said and basically itch people's ears. But Jeremiah wouldn't do that. So, but there was a part in it where the like a king or a prince, he says, "Look, because of you, Jeremiah, that the men of war's hands have become weak, and you make their hearts fearful." And so, in a way, that's the same thing with right now. When you say 9/11 was an inside job, it's like the people in the military-industrial complex who are banking off the that engineered controlled chaos engineered crisis of 9/11, which was a false flag inside job. I mean, I don't know if it was the rays, if they used the rays, but or I don't know if it was just a controlled demolition, but it was certainly. I mean, and here's the thing: insurance fraud, dude. There's a motive alone is insurance fraud. And that's like, look, it's textbook. Like this town I grew up in, anytime a business started to go under, man, this guy who owns everything would burn that motherfucker down and rebuild it. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the Illuminati cards too, insurance fraud. But anyway, same thing here these days. So political dissonance. It's like, listen, if you love the truth, you can't tell a lie. You know what I'm saying? I mean, or you won't believe in the lies. You won't idolize the lies. You won't worship the lies. You'll start to look at things and be like, see, that's what it is. You start to wonder why. And when you wonder why and you search and you seek and you start to find that that things are really bad. You know what I'm saying? So and when you start calling them out, see, there's a lot of people in this world who are just complacent in a way because look, they ain't feeling the immediate pinch of what's going on, and see, there's no way they could tell that. I mean, for some reason, all the signs were there that they were going to get attacked by Babylon in Jeremiah, and that's what he's telling them. And it was a punishment from God because they weren't listening to His word or remembering God anymore. It was the system was self-serving, and beyond that, they started to actually commit idolatry in secret, and God knew about it. So Oh, you want to be idolaters? Well, here, I'll give you to the chief of the idolaters, and you can serve him. That was their punishment in a way. That's Nebuchadnezzar. And by this coincidental running into the children of Israel, the king of Babylon actually becomes kind of he kind of makes there's an awesome verse or a chapter in Daniel that Nebuchadnezzar's, they were the words of Nebuchadnezzar, where he says, hey, look, this is the true God here who Daniel serves. Because for surely these things couldn't have happened like this if it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't a believer in this thing at all, but by the time it was over, he was a believer. And he even, it's documented, just like Jeremiah. See, people think these are fictional fairy tale accounts, but they're not. This is people had to die sometimes to get these messages out, and it really upset the mainstream narrative in the day and time of their day and time. But nevertheless, the thing about it is they did go to Babylon, so they were telling Jeremiah, he better shut the fuck up, man. He's fucking up he's fucking up the system. And the people who profit the most and have the most to lose it's like in the Matrix. Those are so hopelessly dependent on the Matrix, they'll fight to uphold it. This happens in so many different freaking ways. This is one of them, for one of the reasons right there. It's like the truth, man. Your life's going so good for you, you don't want to believe the truth, basically. To the point where you will kill the messenger, and that's another thing about this. They want to shoot the messenger and not kill the king. You know what I'm saying? In a way, because yeah, man, it's crazy though. But yeah, basically Jeremiah was constantly gang stalked. He was a person of interest. He was a POI. You know what I'm saying? And was probably considered to the forces. That means whoever can pay and dominate the people with the sword or whatever. That's who really likes to shut people up, man. They don't want to hear it, man. They don't love the truth. They hate it, because if they knew the truth, they couldn't do the things they do the way that they do them with a clear conscience. That's the thing. And if you're aware of the truth and you're doing these things with a clear conscience, it's because your conscience isn't on right. And that's the whole problem. Why can't you admit and acknowledge the problems and how we've brought them on ourselves in a lot of ways? And that's what helps you snap out of it too, is like, look, you see that it's an inside job, just like 9/11. And it's like people need to turn around, repent, remember God, remember right and wrong, and why you want to try to be a better person. And you don't want to trust in oppression. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to see injustice. You don't want to remain silent, that the truth may not be heard at all. You know what I'm saying? It's like other people just be like, just shut up and take your money, man, and don't cause no problems. Sometimes that's what keeps people enslaved too, is that mentality where it's just they give in too much. There's a point where it's like the harder you push, the harder it is the pushback. There is such a subtle way where you seek such a path that it causes way less turbulence, and it penetrates in a lot deeper, because that's the way it's coming in. It's coming in non-aggressive or non-invasive, but yet, since it's true, when the truth comes in, it does come in a non-invasive fashion. But then once it really opens up, like once the seed of truth starts to sprout, how much conflict is it going to bring with the things that you think you know? You know what I'm saying? And you'll have to go and reevaluate everything all over again. You have to. That's not a problem, man. To be able to look, imagine if a GPS only took one picture. You know what I'm saying? It's like a string of pictures, and that's how it keeps track of the thing. If you only got one, You know what I'm saying? It's like it wouldn't work. I mean, in a way. So it's like you got to keep taking a fresh reading on things. You know, like even maps. Maps do change in a year because things do. The ocean swallows things up, and sometimes it spits them out. Land, same thing. So things are constantly changing. So it's like, look, so it's good to keep evaluating yourself and the things, your environment, yourself and your environment. Remember, listen, if you're just always fixated on yourself and not the environment, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're going to become like vain. You know what I'm saying? And like narcissistic, basically. But if you look all at the environment and never look at yourself, you'll probably present a false image to fit into your environment. You know what I'm saying? And which keeps you from yourself, which is, you know, there's both extremes of that. You know, you don't want to become totally disattached from yourself and the truth. You know what I'm saying? But then again, if you're too focused on yourself, it's like that kind of, in order to see the whole picture of the truth, you got to realize yourself and others, your environment or the earth. Because I mean, the earth, the land, the system, the kings, the powers and principalities, your relationship to these things. You know what I'm saying? It's like you should be able to judge them. To make a judgment is to come to a conclusion or draw to a conclusion on information, to make a statement on, to address something. That's really what it's about. Acknowledgement. You acknowledge the things that are taking place around you in your environment and in you, in the inner turmoil it's causing you, because it's like by connecting the dots for people, it's like it takes someone who's humble enough and they're not worried about keeping their status neither, because look, if you're worried about keeping your status, that will stop you from telling the truth, because just like with Jeremiah, it was fucking up the political hustle basically, as well as the religio-political structure of the time. And he was getting gang stalked for it, and there's people constantly waiting for him to make something they could arrest him for. And here's another thing. Jeremiah comes in off the jump street, and he addresses why Israel's being judged too. There's two pieces to it. They commit fornication with the stones, which is having idols, just statues that they attribute to the names of the gods, basically. And the other one was called stocks. And I knew right away what that meant, man. It was slavery. They were selling their brethren into slavery, kind of like the slave ships. They always say that the Africans sold their own people. Well, there's an example, a more modern example of this same old philosophy. And God's totally against having actual slaves. Even if you have servants, you're supposed to pay them their hire, basically. So God wants you to keep. He doesn't like to see people imprisoned or in a system that they can't maneuver in. They can't operate what he needs them to do in, is slavery. You know what I'm saying? It's basically, you are free to F up, but there will be consequences for the bigger the F up is, basically. Yeah. Though, you know, all things can be forgiven, but still, it's still an F up is an F up. You gotta it's acknowledge it. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. If you and he keeps saying it, these people will not listen. They're stubborn and rebellious house. And everything that he was doing, they was trying to cock block it, man, like big time. And there's religio-political reasons that's in there, and there was personal reasons, like too. Like people are like, in order for him to be right, they have to be wrong. The pride kicks in, stubborn. Look, over pride, it comes to like stubbornness to learn. Like meek means humble and willing to learn. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you don't have nothing to stand for or nothing like that. It just means you're ready to learn these things and to know those things, and more what's important. And let go of your own ideas and your own perceptions of things a little bit, and learn from a different perspective, man. And Yeah, man. There's definitely a lot of serious gang stalkings.